Thomas. It's up for grabs now.
Magic ball from Bergkamp to Patrick Viera.
Oh, would you believe it? Oh, right. What a way to get it.
Fabulous solo goal by Thierry Henry.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of the Arsenal Lounge on a Monday. And everyone here is on time. We've kicked off a little bit late, but you know what? We're all here. That's the main thing. Before we start, a big hello to everyone in the chat. So I'll wait till it warms up a little bit. I'll come on to the panelists. So let's start with Tom today. I always start with Mo, don't I? How are you doing, Tom, today?
Yeah, very good, mate. Very good. Nice and early, as my ancestors would have wanted.
That's a conversation that you guys are not privy to. But let's say Tom might have done it. Tom's sending off a DNA test. You never know. He might be closer to me and Mo than you think.
Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? Judged by his time, he must be. But good to see you, Tom. And Mo, how are you doing today, mate?
Yeah, I'm good. I am. I was actually a couple of minutes early, and my ancestors are fuming. So yeah, it's just role reversal today. People in the chat, tell me this, yeah. If you're meeting up for lunch,
left space.
Oh, God. I apologise in advance for everyone watching, but you can carry on, Mo. These are all Mo's own thoughts, by the way.
I'm just curious. If you're meeting up for lunch with me and Tom, yeah. So we're meeting up, me, you, and Tom. Everyone in the chat, you're the hypothetical in this.
I'm not invited, obviously.
Who do you know? Lev's not invited because you just don't like Lev. Who do you expect to arrive first, me or Tom, and why? So let's say it's 2 p.m. We've decided to meet for lunch. Who do you expect to arrive first? What time and why? I'd really appreciate your insight on this.
Bonus point for choice of dish as well. Thank you.
That's when it gets really racist.
Well, anyway, I don't know where this is all coming from, but, interesting start to the show, as always. Guys, another positive one. Before we go into sort of the Arsenal game, etc., just to sort of set the scene, shall we say. Saturday came along, City playing away at Palace, I believe it was, in order to close that gap to 2 points and put the pressure on Arsenal. City didn't really perform that great. You could have expected more from them, but a late penalty due to, I think it was Elise, poor decision-making, giving away a penalty and gifting City the 3 points. So the pressure was on for Arsenal, playing away at Fulham. Something we all envisaged was going to be a tough test. I'm going to go a little bit different here. Look, I'm going to try and get it all technical. So look, here we go. This was the starting lineup. Ramsdale in goal, Saliba and Gabriel, obviously. Ben White on the right, Zinchenko on the left, usual. Xhaka, Thomas and Odegaard, with Saka, Martinelli and Trossard again playing in that sort of false nine. No real surprises with Fulham, apart from the fact that Willian and Paulinho was obviously out. So Leno at the back in goal, Tete, Adarabio, I think it is, Ream, Robinson, Reed, Lukic, Reed up again, Pereira, Solomon, and Mitrovic up top. So we were expecting a tough old game here, guys. It turned out to be anything but. I mean, I won't go into the game too much. Yeah, I'll let the guys go into theirs. But 3 goals we scored in the first half. We had Saliba. No, that was I'm looking at the wrong one there. Here we go. There we go. So we had, who did we have? We had Gabriel score, Martinelli in the 26th minute, and Martin Odegaard in an added time just before half time. So that was 3-0. But look, we'll go into it with the lads first, a little bit more detail. Mo, we'll start with you. I mean, you wasn't expecting that game, was you, surely?
No, not at all. I mean, you think there might be a Europa League hangover, even if you're playing at home, for example, and, not what looks like quite a tough fixture. And then on top of that, you look at Fulham, how well they've done this season. You look at where they are in the league. and you think to yourself, it's definitely not going to be an easy game, especially with that potential hangover from Europa League. And that turned out to be quite a tough game in the end against Sporting, the 2-2 draw. So I thought to myself, no, it's going to be a difficult day at the office, with Man City as well getting a late penalty in such frustrating circumstances as well, because it was so unnecessary, the challenge, if anyone watched it. And Patrick doing a really, really good job against City. All of those things coming together, and I thought to myself, it doesn't look like Arsenal's weekend. And then we just went and blitzed them. Unlike Tom, Arsenal were bang on time that game. They just got started immediately. And it was just a phenomenal, ruthless display of first half football. Even with that goal disallowed that everyone's forgotten about because it's just rendered irrelevant because of what we did immediately after. Trossard was playing like De Bruyne. Every single pass, every decision, bang on point in that first half. The lads just finished every chance off just perfectly. And then second half, game management, closed the game out, didn't really take any risks, limited Fulham, I thought, to not much. And it was just like, I referenced in one of my 5 at 5s, 2 things that a team needs to have to win the title: the ability to show steel and the ability to show a bit of silk. And we've been like toing and froing in recent games: a bit of silk, a bit of steel, a bit of silk, a bit of steel. Clearly, Everton 4-0 was silk, then Bournemouth a bit of steel, then Sporting a bit of steel again, Bournemouth as well, I think I said that, and now a silk once more against Fulham. And you don't know what Arsenal are going to turn up, you just know we're going to win. And that's 5 on the bounce now. And what an incredible response to what was our sticky spell this season, where we went 4 games in different competitions without a win. So, I mean, look, it's just really, really feel good around the club right now.
There you go. I mean, Mo's gone from sticky to silk and steel. But look, I mean, Tom, we'll cut to the chase for some of the sort of events that happened in that game. So, I mean, Mo rightly said, I mean, some of the football in the first half was scintillating. I mean, honestly, it's a bit frustrating for me because I listened to a bit of TalkSport, I listened to a bit of other sort of punditry, and everyone keeps going on about Fulham's performance and is this a league that's not so challenging this season compared to others. It does frustrate me, but some of the football I witnessed in the first half was mainly the disallowed goal. Starting from that, even great bit of football. Trossard was involved in that as well, I believe. But I mean, give me your take on what you've seen, because the goals and the movement and Trossard's hat trick of assists, it's just better than we could ever imagine, didn't it?
Yeah, look, the whole argument of the level of the opposition in the league this season, I think that you consider the fact that Man City are still securing similar number of points on the kind of the track record that they're going through this season shows you that it's not necessarily as cut and dry as that. I do think that there is an element of wanting to try and take the gloss off of Arsenal's achievements so far from the wider kind of anti-Arsenal side of things, but you can't take away from that brilliant performance in the first half. The passing, the movement, the aggression to win the ball back as soon as they'd lost it. We always kind of go back to those Pep Guardiola Barcelona sides that would just suffocate teams as soon as they lost the ball, win the ball back. And Thomas Partey in particular was absolutely critical to that style that we wanted to implement. Every time the ball went into the middle third, he just anticipated the ball, moved in, recovered it, and we went again. And Fulham really couldn't cope with that intensity. And it was interesting seeing us after we had that first goal chalked off, because I thought when that happened against us with Leicester and we had that goal ruled out, Trossard with a fantastic finish, of course, it felt like that game kind of just it went a bit dead after that point, and Arsenal were a bit gutted that they'd not got that goal. But we'd seemingly learned from that because, minutes later, we take the lead through that corner and we just didn't let up the intensity. Gabriel from the corner has to be the biggest threat, I think, in the Premier League from corners. He is just such a presence. Go on.
Yeah, he was the top scoring defender in the league last season and is currently the top scoring defender in the league this season. And the season before that, he was Arsenal's top scoring defender. People don't realise that about Gabriel, because I think personally, he's been our best defender this season out of the 2 centre-backs. And I think people don't realise, because everyone was like loving Saliba, and rightly so. And you know what it's like with fans. You like one, then you have to criticize the other, which I don't know why we do. But people were saying, oh, Saliba's great, Gabriel's not good enough. And it was like, hold on a second. Gabriel might make a mistake here and there, but he contributes more with goals than he does goals from errors, from his own errors. And actually this season, he hasn't even really committed many errors either, while Saliba doesn't get the goals. So I think that's an underrated part of Gabriel's game that he doesn't get enough credit for. He does pop up and get you goals.
Well, I don't understand why people would think that, because the great teams of old with Arsenal had great partnerships at the back. You started off, you had Adams and Bold, you had Adams and Keown, you had Sol Campbell at the back with Adams for a while, then they swapped. We've always had great partnerships in the best Arsenal teams, and I think we have a tremendous partnership with Gabriel and Saliba right now. It's amazing. Yeah. And that second, was it the second goal? Saliba's ball out from the back. We kept possession for a while, but he hit this ball under a bit of pressure straight into Xhaka.
Yeah.
And the curl we put on the ball and the pace he put, just the right amount of pace for Xhaka to be able to run onto and keep that momentum going. I think just the team we have right now is just looking. I don't want to give it too much yet, but the way we have come out with the pressure, we seem to be coping with the pressure right now, and everyone's expecting us to flop. What was your thoughts on sort of Trossard's linking up with Martinelli? And do you think that whole Trossard coming in has obviously had an impact on Martinelli, because he hasn't stopped scoring since Trossard's introduction? Tom, I'll go with you. What do you think has made the difference for Martinelli with Trossard's introduction?
I think that Trossard is just the closest we've got to Gabriel Jesus in terms of a centre forward, and we know what Jesus did for Martinelli in the first half of the season, and those two combined so well. I think he unleashes Martinelli. It enables Martinelli to move more centrally, more freely. He's got a greater understanding, I think, of movement, whereas Nketiah is more of your classic number 9, likes to stay in the middle and then sometimes drifts into wide areas when he kind of remembers that he needs to do it, which does unfortunately restricts Martinelli somewhat, because he then tries to look for where the spaces are, and if Nketiah is continuously in the middle, he's not going to take those opportunities to, say, run into those areas. But if Trossard's moving out to the left-hand side, receiving the ball there's an immediate run for Martinelli to take the run through the middle. That's how he scored against Leicester when Trossard played him through. So, I think that those two have an understanding. I spoke to Trossard actually after the game.
I read your article, by the way. I was going to ask about that. Go into it.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, I asked him kind of how and why he's been able to transition so seamlessly and have that understanding with Martinelli and everyone else in the team. Obviously, he put a lot of credit on the manager and obviously the teammates that have made him feel very welcome. But he called himself a tactical player, which I think was quite an interesting remark, because when you see players try to understand the way a team wants to play, sometimes it fits and sometimes it doesn't. But if you're self-describing yourself as a tactical player, you're putting emphasis on the fact that you can fit into different systems pretty comfortably. You can understand what the manager is asking of you and what the other roles of the players around you are, so that you can mesh into those systems together. So I thought that was really kind of interesting to hear him say that and self-proclaim himself as a tactical player. And I think that the evidence we've seen this season suggests that he's absolutely spot on, because since moving not only in that left-hand side when he started there, but when he's moved into this centre-forward role as well, he's just acclimatised to it seamlessly. And I think it's, if anything, probably taken his game to potentially even a higher level than we saw at Brighton. 5 assists in 5 games and 5 starts and a goal is a really great return.
Well, yeah, you did mention in the article, I read it, and I think part of the reason his level must have gone up is he did mention the players that he has around him are so good. And obviously that then ups your game, and the things you can do as well changes. I mean, Mo, obviously we've talked about Trossard linking up with Martinelli. Who else stood out for you in that game? We've talked about Partey, but I mean, you could go through all of that team and say, I mean, the only bad performance I could say, and I'm surprised I'm going to say this, I think Saka didn't have the best of games. I really don't.
True, he didn't have the best of games, but just goes to show how much we expect from him, because what did he really even do wrong? Fine, he wasn't able to get into the game as much, but I think naturally, sometimes a flow of a game starts to take shape and it happened to be down our left-hand side. Often you see teams that have got an incredible left winger, an incredible right winger, but you're just getting joy down one side, and that's just naturally how the game goes. And that was the story of our game. But Saka plays all the bloody time. You know, he didn't get any break against Sporting either. So I feel like it's fair enough. Like, he's not always going to kill it, but he's been incredible. So it's just like, yeah, didn't have his usual level of game. Makes no difference. The other person I think had an incredible game was Martin Ødegaard. Always on the ball. His two-touch play was fantastic. The amount of nutmegs he pulled off in that game in tight situations as well. He just sees the game so clearly. His passing and following, you know, he's not just happy to pass the ball. He's always thinking about how can I be an option yet again. The two-touch passing on display. It was almost like we had a rule in that game against Fulham. You're not allowed to take more than 2 touches, basically. Because I don't know if people picked up on it, but it was phenomenal how good and easy we were with two-touch passing. Also, our recovery runs across the whole team were absolutely superb. And I always say this, Martin Ødegaard, leader of the press for us. And when you're pressing, you're running forward. It's much harder. I don't know why, just psychologically, it is in football much harder to do the dirty work when you're running back, chasing someone to try and win the ball off of them. And Martin Ødegaard did that relentlessly in this game. And he sets the tone as a captain. So I think he deserves a lot of credit. But Thomas Partey, like you mentioned, that was a masterclass. You know, absolutely incredible performance. And then you have Trossard as well. Overall, I'd give Trossard man of the match. But Partey must be thinking, I should be man of the match. Ødegaard probably must be thinking the same as well. It was just one of those games where everything just clicked. And, you know, it was... Honestly, I think to myself, I don't think I've seen Man City play that well this season at any point. So, you know, earlier you touched on the fact that people are saying, oh, well, Man City aren't the same, etc. I think it is a bit unfair, to be honest with you. Not that I care. I just want to win the league. But people... Like Man City, right? In 17-18 got 100 points. In 18-19 got 98 points. And Liverpool in 18-19 got 97. That standard was crazy. Absolutely crazy. In 19-20, Liverpool got 99 points. Man City got 81. So again, a crazy standard set. But Man City, the fact they got 81 points then, and in 2021, they won the league with 86 points. That's only 20 points, 7 victories away from where we are now. So it's not just a given that Man City always go and get 90-plus points and Arsenal aren't anywhere near. In fact, last year they won the league with 93. And if Arsenal continue the form that we're on now, we equal that. So it's a bit of a myth that, oh, there's been a massive drop-off. I just think it's a bit unfair on Arsenal. But why are people saying it? Why are they doing it? To get clicks. So fine, it is what it is. I think the reality is quite different there. And Arsenal really are the real deal. Not just with points, but also you look at the amount of goals that we've scored, we're the real deal. You look at the eye test, the performances, we're the real deal. You look at our away record, we are the real deal. Our defensive record, the amount of clean sheets, I think Ramsdale's tied with Nick Pope now for the most in the league. Again, we're the real deal. No matter how you cut it with Arsenal this season, we are the real deal. Only the second team in Europe's top 5 leagues to have a front three all on double figures in goals. You know, it doesn't matter how you want to look at it. Arsenal are the real deal, setting records in terms of limiting teams to expected goals like we did against Everton. That only comes when you've got consummate control of a game, managing injuries. You know, we're the real deal. We had Jesus injured for ages. I don't care how you want to cut it. There's no debate to be had that Arsenal aren't the real deal this season so far. Let's see.
Touching on what you said about the City when they were flying high and getting the points, apparently we've matched City's highest total after 27 games. We've matched that. So at the end of the day, you can't, and we have dropped off. We started the season a lot stronger than we are now. So if we had continued that, you just don't know what would have happened. There's a few other records as well I didn't know. I think we're the first team to win 5 consecutive derbies away.
London
away derbies. Away derbies, and
without conceding a goal.
So that's insane.
But Lev, I would say that, it goes to show how great of a side Man City are. The fact that we've equaled their points tally after 27 games, and then look at what they do in that last 10, last 11. They just go and win them all. They just go and say, yeah, look, 10 games remaining, 30 points, done. That's how they get to the 99, to the 100. And that's the business end of the season. So they've got a track record of coming into their own and almost kind of like arrogantly saying, yeah, now let's show them. Now it matters. And it focuses them. And we've seen with Arsenal in this team that we've struggled in the last business end of a season. Like last year, quite famously, we struggled. And we've got some very, very tough away games in the last 10 games of the season.
Yeah.
City away, Liverpool away, Newcastle away. We've got Chelsea at home as well. We've got some tough games. It will be very, very interesting to see if we can do what City go and do and just be ruthless.
No, I totally agree with you. It's going to be interesting. Tom, how do you feel we're going to handle the next few games in the sense of what's coming up? I mean, obviously, Saka did look a bit tired, not going to lie. It could be a good time that we've got all these players back. Jesus obviously came back on the day, and the fans went absolutely mad, almost as a bigger cheer as if we scored a goal. He looked pretty sharp when he came on. Should have scored, in my opinion, but it was great to see him up there because he gives us something a little bit different, doesn't he? So where do you see it moving forward? How do you think Arteta's going to handle this? Because obviously Trossard's on form. Saka has been undroppable. What happens now with these players returning?
Well, firstly, it's an amazing problem to have. And I wouldn't want to be the guy that has to turn around to Leandro Trossard and say, you're not starting the next game.
Who gets dropped? It's insane.
Exactly. And I think that after, against Crystal Palace, no matter how fit Gabriel Jesus is from the off, I would be starting Leandro Trossard at centre forward. I just think that combination with Martinelli is so good. I would be interested in starting Gabriel Jesus on Thursday against Sporting in the Europa League, just to kind of give him. I wouldn't be surprised, especially based upon how he performed when he came off the bench. Like if you compare that reintroduction to Emile Smith-Rowe, for instance, and how he has been reintroduced to the team, it's night and day in terms of readiness. And there's just something about Gabriel Jesus where he just, and I don't know if you've seen the trailer for the documentary, the miniseries that's coming out about his recovery.
Yeah.
Quite excited to see how that pans out. But one of the things is Gary O'Driscoll speaking, who's the club doctor, about his return and about how he's kind of just constantly beating deadlines and leaving days off of where they thought it would take for him to return. And there was suggestions that he wouldn't be back until after the international break. And yet we're sitting here 3 games before the international break and he's now back and playing. So I wouldn't be surprised if he started. I think you can start him and then bring him off at half time if you wanted to, or you can flip it and you can bring him on at half time, which maybe you could argue is safer because then it's going up against a team that have already been playing for 45 minutes. So I think it works either way, but it wouldn't surprise me if he started at all. But yeah, we've got obviously Smith-Rowe, we've got Nketiah to come back. He posted on his Instagram that he's seemingly working hard and hopefully
how far off is he, Tom?
It's not really known, but there's an understanding that it's probably going to be after the international break. It is when it's likely, but the club are being so secretive about timeframes of returns for their players that it's rare that you even see them leaked. I saw a report go out about, I think it might have been Gabriel Jesus. I can't remember who it was that did it. And I don't want to shit on him too much, but it was basically they said he would travel to Portugal, and it would be very unlikely though if he played before the international break. And both of those things of the opposite has happened because he didn't go to Portugal because he's stayed back to work on his fitness. And then of course Charles Watts reported the day before Saturday that he would be in contention for Sunday. So I think that with Nketiah, we aren't going to know until they want us to know. Arteta said that Jesus and Trossard weren't ready for Fulham, and then a day later they're in the squad. So
he's been lying to the media, isn't he?
Yeah, look, it's a pain for us. It's a pain for us, but I don't mind. I don't necessarily mind it too much. Yeah. Like it's not a problem. Like if he wants to keep things close to his chest, then great. I saw this thing going around today about Kiwior. I don't know if you've seen this about his agents have denied leaking information about him being in the starting 11 for the game on Thursday. There were also rumours about him missing out on the squad because of disciplinary issues on Sunday. I've not been able to verify that. I don't know if that's anything linked to the news that got leaked that he would be starting, because Arteta's so secretive about the lineups. You can imagine if something leaked, he'd want to know how it leaked and why it leaked and if who was responsible for that. So, and that's just me speculating. I have no idea as to what happened, but it'd be interesting to see. But yeah, going back to the original question, like, it's going to be interesting how we navigate the games coming up. But I think Jesus will play, obviously, some part in them. But Trossard has to, for me, continue at the moment, because he has just been doing so well.
No, I'll tell you who else has impressed me. I'll bring Moh in on this. Now, Viera started a little bit slow in that game, but you're starting to see little signs of what he's capable of, and he's starting to be a bit more consistent with him. What is your take on Viera at the moment?
I think there's loads more to come from him, really. He hasn't wowed me yet, and that's absolutely fine. You know, he doesn't get enough consistent game minutes to wow me or to hit top form. And actually, from what I know about the player, I think he's got attributes that we haven't really seen enough of yet.
Yeah.
So I just think, let's be patient with him. Let's give him time. He's certainly not being carried. And that's kind of the key for me, that even if you're not absolutely destroying it, you're not on top form, at least you're contributing, you're doing the right things, and you're pushing the team forward rather than being in any way a liability, which he is, and absolutely no one in our team is. So yeah, all good, no complaints.
No, I'm seeing a lot of potential from him. There's a lot more players on that pitch now with vision that could create something, and movement as well. I think losing Eddie has kind of, in a way, worked in our favour. We're less predictable because we've got that fluidity up top, and we were becoming a little. Who was it? Was it the Brentford manager that stated it's easier to prepare for Arsenal? Yeah. So since then, obviously, it's almost like Arteta has taken that on board. He's been forced on him slightly. But I mean, this new sort of, it's almost like when you used to watch City when they had the false nine right now. But here's a question I'd like to ask you. Obviously, it is working with the false nine, but had we had a clinical striker in that game against Fulham in the early stages, you couldn't argue that we could have been six goals up in that first half, and that's not even exaggerating. So, do you still see the need for that quality striker in the summer?
I mean, the idea around a clinical striker, like Erling Haaland, right, is a clinical striker. I don't think there's any debate about that. But the thing is that clinical number nines, as we see them, you don't tend to see clinical number nines playing in the style of Trossard or Jesus, you know. And that's because their whole refinement and their development has gone into becoming the most ruthless, in front of goal, getting on the end of chances, being in the right place at the right time in the box. And whilst that's great, Arteta wants a number 9 that does a lot more to a higher level. Like, Haaland can't do what Jesus does. He can't do what Trossard has done. And Trossard cannot do what Haaland does, and Jesus cannot do what Haaland does. They're different types of players. So I don't necessarily agree that had we have had an Erling Haaland clinical striker, that we would have been 4 or 5 up, because I think that Trossard's movement and play and the way he works with Martinelli meant that we were able to overcome Fulham so comfortably. And obviously with the rest of the team as well, from the midfield to the defence and the way they approached the game, everyone combined meant we played the way we played. And that's why I think ultimately we've, not only because of the disciplinary issues, but we've moved on from Aubameyang and we've moved on from Lacazette and we've moved to Jesus. It's also why I think that Eddie Nketiah will find it tougher to make it at Arsenal, because he just isn't necessarily developing in a way that he's showing enough to be able to produce the movement into the wide areas. He's trying it a bit. He's like a player that I think sometimes he'll be in the 30th minute. He's like, oh, I haven't gone in the wide area for 30 minutes. I better like start making those runs. And because he's not necessarily taken that on board as seamlessly, it's going to be tougher. And when Fulham Balogun returns in the summer, there's all this hype and attention around Fulham Balogun. But the thing about Fuller and Balogun, why this loan at Rennes has gone so much better than his loan at Middlesbrough, is because he's playing in that classic number 9. He's the spearhead of that Rennes side. And at Middlesbrough, he was playing off the left and he was doing a good job and he was being creative. He was getting assists. But his best role is to play as that more central striker. And I'm not sure if either Nketiah or Balogun are going to be not of the level, because I think they're good players, but of the style that will fit what Arteta wants from a number 9. So I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm just saying I haven't seen anything from Balogun yet to suggest to me that he'll be able to fit into the Trossard Jesus mould of forward that Arteta likes.
All right, well, before we go on to the other game, the Sporting Lisbon, and that was part of the reason I asked, because for me, it highlighted to me that an away game, maybe in the Champions League when we're playing, we could do with somebody like a Tony type player that can maybe, when you're away, hold the ball up and bring us into play. We struggled a little bit with Sporting Lisbon, but before I go into that, there was another thing that I didn't know about that I wanted to highlight. I don't know if you knew about this as well, Tom, because you're usually pretty spot on with these stats. But this is Saka here, according to Who Scores. Bukayo Saka has the best clear-cut conversion rate out of anybody in the Premier League. 85.7% efficiency in the final third, with Gabriel Martinelli, Leandro Trossard, and Rodrigo are second with 70. So, was you aware of that?
No, I assume clear-cut conversion rate is taking clear-cut opportunities, like
yeah,
high XG chances. I
the
assume
high
is what that
XG
probably
chance,
is.
yeah. If there's a high XG chance,
Mo's going to get excited. But yeah, I think
I find that a bit odd, because I know that Erling Haaland is leading the way, and because when you were saying that, I was a bit surprised. So they must be measuring it differently, because in terms of goal conversion, Haaland is 38, Saka is 23%.
Yeah, no, I guess it's those types of chances then, because Haaland's missed some big ones. Like the Nottingham Forest chance was a big one that he missed. I think it was another one in that game he missed as well that was quite a big chance. He scores goals from positions where you're like, 99.9% of forwards wouldn't be able to finish in those areas, and that's why I think he's leading the way in terms of goals and goal conversion. But you got the fact that Martinelli and Trossard feature there, Martinelli in particular and Saka, the confidence, how clinical they are, the ruthlessness at that age is a real asset. And it's one of the big reasons why we are where we are. And I think we're the only team in the Premier League. I think we were the only team in the Premier League with 2 players on double digits of goals this season. I think Foden's on 8 or 9, so he's very close. But we've now got 3 after Odegaard. So that's a testament to the team.
I'm going to give you guys an opportunity here. I'm going to give you £50 if you can tell me which other Premier League player has got a 38% goal conversion rate as well as Haaland.
Do you want to give us some time and we'll come back to it later?
No, absolutely not. You're not Googling it, Tom.
I'm not going to Google. I'm just trying to think.
Now.
38% conversion rate?
Yeah. Which other Premier League player?
I will go with Ivan Toney.
Lev?
Rashford?
Pascal Gross. That was a nice, easy £100 I got there. Thank you very much, boys.
I didn't say I was giving you 50 quid. You said you was going to give us 50 quid.
That's obviously the deal.
You're turning it into Shaheen, mate, with your bets.
Yeah,
all right. Double or quits question. Who is the... Do you know what? Only one Italian footballer has ever won the Premier League. Mad stat, yeah? Who is it?
Is it
no
Googling?
No. No. Mo's trying to...
I said Cudicini.
Let us know in the chats.
I'm sure he would have won it.
Only one Italian player has ever lifted the Premier League title. Who is it?
Oh, my God. Chelsea have had a fair few Italians. Is it?
I thought Jorginho, but he hasn't won the
No, he hasn't won.
He hasn't won the Premier League. He's Brazilian Italian, isn't he?
Oh, I've just seen it in the chat. Balotelli.
Yeah. This is one of my mates, Squidly Balotelli.
Yeah, that's the great.
There's a few people got that in here. I think he was copying someone else because someone else got it first. It was Temi that got it first. Well done, Temiola.
Well done, Temi.
A little bit of
Levos you 100 quid.
Yeah, I saved myself. Anyway, so look, moving on. Obviously, prior to that, and this brings a nice segue into Thursday's game. Prior to that, we had the game against Sporting Lisbon, and according to Mr. Canton, this was going to be the easiest fixture out of all. So there I was thinking, I sit down, relax on a Thursday night, going to watch this 5:45 kickoff in Sporting Lisbon. The team we had out as well, I'll quickly run through it. We had Turner in goal, don't remind me. White, Saliba, Kiwior, Zinchenko, Kiwior making his debut, Viera, Jorginho, Xhaka, Saka, Martinelli, and Nelson. I won't go through the Sporting Lisbon team, it will take too long. But that was the lineup, and that was Kiwior's debut. Now, we all kind of know what the result was at 2-2. What did you make of this performance initially? And obviously the mistakes that we witnessed with Kiwior. I think, who would you have blamed? Would you have blamed Turner or Kiwior for that error? Mo?
All depends on whether Kiwior got a shout. If he gets a shout, fine. Provided the shout was actually from his keeper, because you can't be trusting any shouts. I'm one of those people that shouts when I'm playing football, even when it's an opposition player, and if they fall for it, well, tough luck. But I don't know why Kiwior did what he did, unless he's recognised his keeper's voice and he's 100% sure his keeper shouted. And in which case, if his keeper has shouted, he's done nothing. And 3-4 yards out, right in the centre of your 6-yard box, you have to come and claim that. So it all depends on that for me. But I'd almost say that actually both of them should be taking responsibility there. I always say when it comes to football, when two players on the same team go for the same ball, they get criticised. Commentators love to criticise. Oh, you should be talking to each other. It's football. You have like a split second to make a decision. Sometimes you're not even going to have the opportunity, or you just don't have the awareness, and that's fine. It happens over the course of a season. You see it a few times, and that's normal. I love it when I see two players going for a ball. I despise it when I see neither. And on this case, it was neither, and that's when you get punished. If you have two, yeah, one of them will get to it, and the other one will get clattered, but at least you clear the ball more often than not. And so that's what disappointed me. And I'd say both of them are culpable for neither of them taking responsibility.
Tom, it all started so well with Saliba. I mean, we mentioned Gabriel getting goals, but Saliba, again, one of our centre-backs getting a goal. It all started well. Where do you think it went wrong? Was it down to the team selection? Was it a little bit? I mean, obviously, I think Sporting played quite well, and they could have had a few more goals. I think was it Edwards who was causing us some problems?
Edwards was very good,
yeah. I mean, later on when Arteta made those changes and brought in Partey and the usual players that we had, we looked a lot more solid in that second half. But I mean, where do you think it went wrong? Do you think we took it too easy? Do you think it was a combination of new players making errors? Where'd you go with it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that all you need to know about this game is as soon as Partey and Gabriel come on, we're in complete control. And there's only one team that would win that game after those two come on if you'd have played long enough. And I think that's why on Thursday, Partey will probably start on Thursday. I think that there'll be a fairly strong team. There'll still be some changes, but I think it'll be a fairly strong team because Arteta wants to progress. And I think we will win it relatively comfortably, touching wood right now. But the problem is that when you make 6 changes and when you give somebody a debut as well, there is going to be issues. There's not going to be the same level of familiarity between the players. And the thing about Gabriel is Gabriel kind of plays 1.5 roles, because he's got not only being a left centre back, but he has to be half of a left back as well, because Zinchenko plays. Yeah, exactly. Zinchenko plays so far forwards and he is basically a midfielder. He's a de facto midfielder in the team. He isn't a left back, really. Yes, he comes back and covers when we're defending. But on the counter, we were just completely exposed because there were so many spaces in behind. Jorginho hasn't got the same level of coverage as what Partey does. And look, this isn't kind of a let's criticise Jorginho, or the gap between Jorginho and Partey is massive, and that means Jorginho is terrible. No, the gap between Partey and Jorginho is massive because Partey's brilliant. That's the only reason why it's massive. Jorginho is still a very good player, and I think he's going to be an asset between now and the end of the season. Probably now and the end of his contract, he'll be an asset to the team, far better than El Neni and what Lokonga can provide us in that role if Partey's not there. And I think he's proved that in the Premier League, not just in the in the Europa League. But I think that, on the counter, Sporting have got a lot of pace. They finished their chances when they came, bar a couple that they could have even, led by even a greater margin. Paulinho missed a big one when he put it high, wide and left of the goal. Pedro Gonçalves missed a good chance as well in the first half. So I think that on Thursday, you'll see Gabriel in, probably holding in for Saliba. We'll swap the centre-backs from last Thursday, so it'll be Gabriel and Holding. I think Tomiyasu and Tierney will probably come in for this game, but I think you'll see Partey. I think you'll see Xhaka still start. I think Gabriel Jesus could start, but other than that, I think it'll be the front three, maybe with Nelson in. I'm not sure we'll see Smith Rowe start. I'd be surprised. He just doesn't seem ready yet, but Nelson is fit and raring to go. So I think you'll see three of Nelson, Trossard, Saka, Martinelli. I think three of those four will begin this game. And then we may see Jesus in the second half. But who knows? We might get a surprise and he comes into the team. But the key thing is Partey. The key thing is Gabriel. And those two being in the team, I think, give us the foundation to what I would say is hopefully comfortably win on Thursday and progress.
Yeah, hopefully we get a good start and we can rest some of these players. Mo, what did you make of the game? And also, while I throw it in there, then we mentioned him bringing Holding back, etc. Is Arteta not thinking it, or are we not going to utilise White in his actual position of centre back?
Well, I mean, he's doing so well, and if you bring him in as a centre back, who do you take out of the team? In a situation like this, where you may want to rest one of your CBs, like a Europa League, then perhaps you do that. But then when is Holding ever going to get any game time? And let's be honest, does it matter? Does it even matter if Holding plays or not? Because he's obviously not the future. Perhaps the only reason it might matter is that you don't want him to go months and months and months of not playing, only to then be needed. So maybe it's good to find the opportunities to play him. I'm not really too bothered either way. I don't know. It's just good problems to have, like Tom said. But against Sporting, honestly, I feel like in that last game, yes, we were all over the place. I don't think Kyrgios had a very good game, and that contributed to Sporting having a run on us. But people assume that just because it's Sporting and they're in the Portuguese league and they don't have household names that we're aware of, you're going to go there and just walk it. It doesn't work like that. Sporting have got the joint best home record in their division. Well, that means they are used to winning at home. Played 12, won 10. They're used to winning at home. You don't just rock up, and it's not just all about you. Like, they have got their own identity. They have got their own expectations at home and their own confidence levels. So that's why it's hard to win away from home, because when you're playing European competition, the best teams in their domestic leagues are in those European competitions, and those teams are used to having dominant home records. That doesn't get disrupted easily. So I think we'll see the truth when they come to our place, and we will just wipe the floor with them. And I think it'll be a comfortable victory. But if you look at the stats behind that game, completed passes, we had more than double attempted and completed passes that they had. We had the possession stats. We had everything other than goals. They did manage to get in behind us and were quite incisive. Well done to them. That won't happen at our place. So I'm very, very comfortable that we'll confident that we'll beat them and go through.
I agree. I mean, I think the big difference is Partey. He breaks up any counters very, very quickly, and that's what protects Arsenal. Without him, we can be a little bit vulnerable. So you guys, go on.
Pavel mentioned in the comments here, check out Sporting's goal that they scored in their league game after they played Arsenal. Ridiculous goal. So check it out if anyone has the opportunity.
Thanks, Pavel. You're making us nervous before the game on Thursday.
Oh, brilliant goal.
Who's going to the game? You guys at the game on Thursday?
Yes.
Yes?
You're on
I'm going to be there as well. So maybe we'll meet up or something. Tom, as I said, Tom will buy anyone from the chats a drink in the Tollington prior to the game. All you got to do is mention Arsenal Lounge. That's all. Anyway, yeah, so I'll be at the game. I think we'll win. It was going to be an interesting one. So, look, guys, moving from the Europa then, we have then got Palace at home. Now, this is a crucial time. Tom, I was watching your show this morning, and you mentioned that as well. It's a crucial time. Now, City are not playing on the weekend. So this is our chance to play at home against Palace. Not going to be the easiest of games. And our record's not the best against Palace, according to you, Tom. I think you mentioned that again in your show this morning. We haven't had the best of records at home to Palace. So this isn't going to be as cut and dry. And Viera is obviously fighting for his life right now. What do you see happening? I'll start with you, Tom. Where do you see this going? Because if we win this 8 points clear, and you mentioned you have a feeling that we're going to go into that Liverpool game 11 points clear, because the next game City have is at home to Liverpool. So are you assuming that City are going to lose to Liverpool? Okay.
You're on mute. You plonker.
You're on mute, mate. On mute. I thought it was my headphones there, so I was reaching over.
Sorry, that's my bad. That's my bad.
It is this time,
yeah. No, I'm not assuming that City will lose to Liverpool. It's just a hope. That's all that it is. It is every game City play that it's a hope. But we've not beaten Palace at the Emirates since 2018. We've drawn the last 3 and lost the one before that. So this is a run that stretches back, you won't believe, but all the way to Granit Xhaka's chaotic shirt throw onto the floor.
Those days.
We drew that game 2-2. Should have won it because it was our goal to make it 3-2 was wrongly ruled out by VAR. I think it was Chambers was done for that, but Socrates scored. But Chambers, I think, was done for something in the VAR in the build-up. But I think there's a great chance for Arsenal, as I say, to go to Anfield 11 points clear at the top of the table. Because, as you say, City don't play. So this weekend we can extend that to 8 points. If Liverpool beat City and we then beat Leeds at home, you're 11 points clear going to Anfield. And Anfield's a place it's going to be very tough. Like there's not a debate about that.
They do raise it against the better teams, don't they?
Yeah, of course. But Liverpool are beatable. They are beatable. And I think that they've shown this season that they're capable of doing brilliant things, as we saw against United and as they saw against City in their home game. They beat City at Anfield earlier this season, 1-0. So I think that they are ultimately capable of beating us as much as we are capable of beating them. I think that is one of those where you're like, that's anyone's game, that fixture, and either team can win it. But it would be a big, big boost. But yeah, I've predicted that I'm really hopeful that we go into that game 11 points clear. But as I've said before, you lose that and then City beat you and then you're back to 5 points. So it changes very, very quickly. So
insane. Yeah. I mean, Mo, I'll come to you, and whilst I'm with you as well, I'm guessing you will have the predictions for the Palace game that we had. But what do you think is going to happen in that game? And do you obviously, if what transpires, what Tom's saying transpires, would you then, if we went into the Anfield game with 11 points behind us, would you then say to yourself, we're going to win this league? Or are you already saying that?
No, do you know what, honestly, it's going to be a very, very unpopular thing to say, but at this stage and at no stage during the season have I actually thought Arsenal are going to win the league. When I actually look at it, I still think City will do it because of their record in the last 10, 12 games of Premier League seasons, because of Arsenal's fixture list in the last 10. Now, that might change week by week. I think if Man City slip up one more time, that I'm that close to saying I think I'll be surprised if Arsenal do it, because Arsenal continue to defy expectations. So I'm really teetering on the brink here, but I just put City as slight favourites because Liverpool have proven that they're beatable, but they've also proven that they're absolutely unbeatable this season. So it's a tough game going to Anfield. And really, I think maybe it all hinges on the Man City game that we go and play away. All we need to do, in my view, is avoid defeat. So if we can avoid defeat there, then I think we'll probably win the league. But up to that point, I'm going to struggle. Hopefully, though, Man City somehow do drop points before then. If Liverpool beat them, my God, I'll be over the moon. It could have been this weekend, for God's sake. If Palace hadn't given away that penalty, they were looking. Man City weren't sparkling at all.
They didn't look like they were going to score, did they? Like,
Yeah,
didn't look
they
like
just
were gonna
didn't. Yeah, so it could have been this weekend. But if we increase our lead from where it is now, then I think I'll turn around and say, do you know what? I think Arsenal will do it. But as it stands, who do you think will win when Man City take on Arsenal at the Etihad? I think majority of people would say Man City, and then we're just one weekend away, like one bad result away. So one draw or a defeat, and then Man City are above us on goal difference or by 1 point. So I think, even though it feels like we've got this nice big lead, that could get eroded quite quickly. So, sorry to be...
We played Chelsea and Newcastle after City. So, it's a slippery slope. It's a slippery slope.
Come on, guys. Can we be a bit more positive? Look, if we get those points in the bag, though, if we are up 11 points when we get to Anfield, I think we have a ridiculously good chance. I really, really do. Very quickly, Wayne Sage, how you doing? Thanks for your support. Big up the Arsenal Lounge family. He says, Tom, I figured out why John believes Viera needs to bulk up. It's because John is the size of a Viking.
John's one of our regular contributors on TGT, right. And he is built and looks like a Viking, to be fair. But yeah, no, I don't know what you guys think about this. I got into a few debates with people about the Viera thing. Like, for me, I think the whole Viera needs to get in the gym is just, I find it a bit of a lazy argument, to be blunt, about him. I don't think that. I think that there are plenty of lightweight, successful footballers out there. I think that, sure, gaining some muscle is not going to hurt at all, and I just don't think that that's whenever I see Viera play, it's like a ticking time bomb until social media explodes with he's too lightweight, he needs to go to the gym. And I just think that, like, from Viera's point of view, it's just not constructive, because from a tactical standpoint, he needs to be quicker with his decision making, he needs to be better with his final ball, because his ideas, his creativity, his vision are excellent. Like, his reading of the game and his understanding of where the passes need to go are really good. It's his execution that just needs to be that bit. And he's still young, and that's going to come. I really don't like the lightweight argument thing. I think it undermines what is a really good talent that can really still improve.
I think it's a ridiculous state. A lot of the time it is ridiculous because body types and body frames are different. Some players, if you overbulk them, it will slow them down because it's just not their, it's not their natural body weight. Plus, I mean, look at people like Bernardo Silva, who plays for City.
Exactly. Yeah.
Santi Cazorla.
Santi Cazorla was little.
Listen, it's an interesting one. Thierry Henry, I know that his natural build was different to Viera's, right? So he had a starting point that was a bit more muscular, for example. But he actually said, no, I didn't bother with the gym. Minutes on the grass. That was Henry's thing. So we have seen that there's plenty of players, no least the greatest player to ever play the beautiful game. If you're good enough, you actually don't need that. And a lot of Premier League footballers actively don't do weights. They feel like it impacts their agility and that sort of thing. So I think it's something that people say with a bit of a lack of understanding of the game at times and what professionals actually value. But clearly Viera's not at the point where if he puts on a bit of muscle, it's going to impact him negatively, like Tom said. So yes, he could do it, but it's not going to, it doesn't make you able to live with the demands of this league. Let's look at someone like Andrei Shevchenko, right? When he came to Chelsea, unbelievable world-class talent, or Juan Sebastian Veron even at Man United and at Chelsea failed. They weren't lightweight players. They just couldn't manage it in this league for whatever reason. So Viera is not guaranteed to succeed if he puts on a bit of weight. He should be looking at people like Cazorla and saying that actually, if I can get my technical level to a point where I can deal with the intensity and the fast pace of this league, then I'll be able to hack it. And I think that he's got what it takes.
Yeah, I agree. He's getting used to the intensity. Yeah, maybe he does need to strengthen in certain areas of his game, but or physicality. But I think as he develops and he gets used to, he's improving week upon week. I don't see how you can't see that. But anyway, did anyone?
Sorry, go on.
Oh, no, go on, mate.
I was just going to say he should have had another assist at the weekend. Yeah. Jesus should have scored. Brilliant pass for Jesus. Yeah. And even without that, he's our second highest assister. And he's only got something like 12 starts, and most of them in the Europa League. So it's mad, I think, to see the level of criticism that he's already got. He's come from a league that is that you get a lot more time in, especially playing for Porto, and teams standing off you in the Portuguese league. And you don't get that in the Premier League. And so it's just about adapting to the new environment. So it's going to seem like, he gets pushed off the ball easy. But that's because he's not expecting the guy to come charging in at him every single second because he's not been used to that while his time away from England. So, yeah.
If he adapts to the game, he'll actually start knowing what's going to happen and being able to commit defenders more. People coming in, charging in on him. Once he gets used to it, I think he's going to be able to really take advantage of that. Did anyone get the prediction right on the last game?
No. Well, actually, you'll be sad to know, Shaheen, he's dropped off the face of the earth with his predictions, but you both predicted a draw. So Tom had 2-2, Lev, you had 1-1. And I remember I was going to go 1-1, but I went for the Arsenal win purely for the differential. And I thankfully had 3-0 Arsenal. So I got the 3 points on that.
No, you did not have 3-0 Arsenal. What was the result?
I had 1-1. No, I had 1-0 Arsenal.
So he's got 1 point. He guessed that we were going to win. So there you go. Well done. And I'm glad we did.
Let me have your sporting predictions, please. And people in the chat as well, give us your predictions for sporting.
4-0.
Okay, 4-0.
Okay.
3-0.
Oh, that's what I've gone for.
Okay.
Friends.
Okay. And Tom, you've gone for 4-0 against Palace.
I'm going to picture here. Yeah, I'm going to go with Yeah, go on.
Tom, you've gone for 4-0 against Palace. Lev, you've gone for 2-1.
Oh, wow, okay. Double
4-0. You was confident there, mate.
Yeah. No, we need to close that goal difference. That's something we've not mentioned, actually. We're closing the goal difference gap as well to City, which is important.
And Lev, you went for 2-1. I went for 2-0 against Palace. So that's that. Talking of the Fulham game, one thing that we haven't talked about is the flipping clock.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that.
What
it was on my list.
We have to go to Tom. Tom, surely you've got some intel.
I haven't got a clue, mate.
I haven't got a clue. Is it cryptic? I mean, what's going on? Or I've heard it's purely because just so it gives a little bit of camaraderie, bringing the clock end away with us. Yeah. I don't know.
I think people are reading too much into the time. I think I get the whole 2 months left, 11 games left. I think that's coincidental. I really think that's just a big coincidence. I think that Arteta loves a prop. He loves a prop, whether it's a light bulb, whether it's a picture of a heart with a brain. Yeah, I think it's just a prop. I think it's just something he would have used in the team talk, something to do with the clock end, the fans being with them. He knew that they were going to be charged, the crowd, for this one, because they've been stuck on a boat for 3 hours drinking, so they would have been charged for this one. Not the players, the fans, Lev. Your face made it look like that's what the players are doing. But yeah, and they were. The away fans were brilliant in this game. I think it was just a prop for team talk.
Are we taking that every game? Are we taking that around with us?
No.
Well, Lev, look, I've actually WhatsApped you the picture. Can you pull it up? Because I want to do some investigative work on this.
Hold on. I've got investigative work. What are you going to do? Try and break down the clock time and all that stuff?
No. I think there is more to it. Some people are just like, oh, it means nothing. But no, it definitely does mean something. Whether the time that the clock is telling us means something or not is a different story. But my theory on this is that it's just to make that dressing room a bit more Arsenal. So it feels like home. That's the only reason, in my opinion, why it's doing it. Now,
well, that's why I'm asking if he's going to take it to the other games, because that's the kind of feeling I was getting.
Superstitious. Did you read this interview in the Telegraph that they did, where he said basically he doesn't change his outfit until they lose? So he'll wear the same thing. The irony is obviously when he changes his outfit, he just changes it for another black jumper. It's not, So it's
it could get a bit stinky though if we keep winning and he's wearing the same outfit. I'm just trying to get.
Yeah, who cares? I don't mind it. The sweet smell of success. But look, with that clock, right? I personally think it starts to look very arrogant, and you're potentially making a big mug of yourself if you've got this clock. What are you going to do? Put it out every game and make the second hand go, every single time, 11 games to go till we win our 14th title, whatever. If you don't win it, you look like an idiot. So I don't think this is in keeping with what we've seen and heard from the team in terms of how they navigate questions about title talk. They do not start talking about what's to come. They just talk about next game, and I know it's a cliche, but they're not inviting that pressure on them when journalists ask the questions. I certainly don't think they'll be inviting that pressure on them themselves by putting this on social media for millions and millions of people to see in a cryptic fashion. So I don't believe any of the 11 games to go, or for 2 trophies, or 2 meaning 1400 as in 14th Premier League or 14th league title, for example. I don't believe any of that. I'm still waiting for you to get the picture.
Yeah, I'm trying. It's not finding it. I know you're killing. You're killing
I'll send
me
you
here.
it on WhatsApp.
I know I've got it. I've got it, but I'm trying to get it onto here, and for some reason it's not recognizing it. I don't know if it's the picture that's not saving on my computer or not. But anyway,
what I'll do, I'll explain it then. Look, in the Amazon All or Nothing documentary, we saw that he uses different things. In team talks, it could be something like that, maybe referencing the Bournemouth game because we conceded after 9.11 seconds. It could be about time, about what time you're ready. So it could just be 5-6 minutes to kick off, whatever that. It was actually 6, so it wasn't bang on the 11.
There you go. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So as you can see, annoyingly, it's not actually bang on the 11. So even people that are saying 11 games to go, surely if you're going to take that picture, you at least get that right. But anyway, maybe that's just a little bit of sloppiness. Maybe it's about being ready on time. Maybe that's why that was brought in as a prop to say you get match ready from now. And he kind of set that rather than you go out on the pitch, get caught cold, and then you're match ready. Or if you look around this room, this is an away dressing room, but you see on the right-hand side, it says identity.
I've seen that a few times.
Yeah, there's an Arsenal thing there. On the back wall, there's something Arsenal. So clearly they are taking props around with them, and they're making themselves feel more at home. And what makes you feel more at home than something as iconic as the clock that your entire one part of your entire stadium is named after? It's the clock end. That's the clock it's named after. So I think it's that rather than any messaging. But I do find it a bit frustrating, actually, because if we're saying the time was completely coincidental on that, it's just going to be pulled out and used against us if the arrogance and all of that sort of stuff will be spoken about if it doesn't go to plan. So I personally think, yes, the clock was there to make it more at home, potentially maybe something to do with the Bournemouth game, how early we conceded, but not referencing 11 games to go till our title. That's my
okay.
take.
Well, glad we cleared that up. Janae is asking, why are you guys going on about a simple picture?
I brought it up.
Do you know what, Gunay? I think it's really interesting how Mikel Arteta uses certain things to motivate the team. And in any case, right, when a team is doing this well, whenever you see success in any industry, in any organization, you analyze it because you can learn from it. So I'm curious to see what he's doing, and especially in football, how you handle pressure, how you manage pressure is so important. It's like it's the holy grail. So I was very curious personally to see them doing that. And I think just from a psychological point of view, it's quite interesting.
I'm actually curious to know what type of batteries that clock takes. But anyway, very quickly, we'll just cover a few other things that went on over the weekend. Obviously, the United comeback got derailed very quickly. The Liverpool comeback got derailed even faster. Now, very quickly, the contentious thing, United's red card, they're all moaning about the Casemiro sending off. Now, I know the buzzwords now to get Tom absolutely ranting is 2 words, man and United. Put them together and you'll get Tom aggravated. So, Tom, what's your take on the Casemiro red card? Because a lot of these guys have been moaned about. And very quickly, it goes in the chat. 10% or something of likes out of everyone that's on here. If you think we're going to win the league, smash the likes, please. Tom, Casemiro.
Yeah, any suggestion that it's not a red card is ludicrous. Like, absolutely ludicrous. it's I don't necessarily like agreeing with Gallagher on the Sky Ref Watch, because I just think he does come across a little bit like a puppet sometimes, I feel, for the PGMOL, just to justify all the decisions they've made. But yeah, look, it's black and white in terms of like what is and what isn't a red card, and for me that is a red card. He's out of control. He goes into the shin. His studs are showing. And it should be red. I also thought that Bruno Fernandes should have been sent off in their Europa League game as well, personally.
Yeah, I saw that. It wasn't as bad as Casemiro.
It wasn't as bad, but again, I think the same logic applies in saying that he's out of control. It's toward his shin, and I think it's only a matter of luck that he doesn't connect in the same way that Casemiro does. And I don't necessarily think that should absolve you of going in a potentially dangerous challenge out of control in that moment. So I think both are. I think whilst Casemiro's is a certain red, and there's more debate about Fernandes, I'd prefer that type of challenge seeing a red card punishment personally. So yeah, but yeah, I won't get too hot-headed on United because they drew again and they lost more points. So I'm happy, very happy.
Ten Hag's comments surprised me. Mo, I'll come on to you for this, is because he seems to, his excuse, his reasoning behind why Casemiro should have got sent off almost falls down to, well, he never got sent off in La Liga, so he shouldn't be getting sent off in the Premier League. Have you heard what he's been saying about this, Mo?
That's just ridiculous. I haven't heard that. Well, listen, when at La Liga, he was playing for Real Madrid, who are an absolute giant. Right now, he's playing for Man United, who are nobodies anymore in the Premier League. So until you become a big deal again, like the Arsenal, just take it. You know, but it was clearly a red card.
Over the last year or so, yeah.
Look, if we're being serious, of course it was a bloody red card. And actually, do you know what? This, if there was any debate, I think this opens up Thomas Partey's position in the team of the season, because this is going to be now 7 games that Casemiro has missed through injury.
Insane.
He got his 3-match ban, and now this will be a 4-match ban for a second red card.
Sending off, yeah,
second straight red card. So missing 7 games, like 20% of the season. That's crazy through suspensions. Don't care. Red card, deal with it.
Some other contentious ones as well. Was it Pope against Wolves?
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
That has got to be one of the most insane. Like, who looks at that at VAR and says that is not a pen and a sending off?
Well, our referees, our referees, because they are useless. Like, the officiating is useless. Like, people said to me, is like, I know people always want to turn around and say, is there corruption? Is there a bias against Arsenal? And all these words always get thrown towards us whenever I do a show or we do a show on here. And I say no. They're just shit. They're just bad. They are just bad. I just can't. I can't emphasize it enough. I just think they're bad. I just do.
Okay, so you don't think it's corruption? You just think they're that bad?
I think they're that bad. Yeah.
I don't know what's worse. I think at some point I'd rather think it must be corruption. It can't be that bad. But anyway, yeah, some of the decisions were ridiculous. So I mean, look. Other than that, we're all positive. We've got the game coming up on Thursday, and then we've got a big one against Palace at home. So let's hope we win both of those. And then let's hope that Liverpool take some points off City. That would be nice. We've been going for an hour and 10 almost. So we'll start to wrap it up. Any questions very quickly? I'm just having a very quick look. Ron Pickering just asked, do you know who I am? So he's just like, Ron Pickering, since the gangster comments, is now, look, his pictures become, do you know who I am? Fucking Ronnie Pickering. Really cutting edge questions from some of my guys in here. Lone Star Londoner, is Lev in a museum? Yeah, I don't know if he's suggesting I'm old or just the clock. That's actually, see that clock there? That is one of the first clocks from the 1800s. It's from America. Do you know those saloons? Those American saloons. It's one of those. It was the first one.
You do live in a museum there.
I do, yeah. I live in a museum. Yeah, I do.
So we're hoping to get clarity on the flipping clock in the Arsenal picture. Instead, we get clarity on this.
We get clarity on this one. And I think they're taking the clock around in recognition of my clock. But yeah, so look, I mean, we'll just wrap it. Yeah, we'll wrap it up anyway. Before we go, you can find Mo on his YouTube channel and his 5 at 5s. I think it's the Loaded Gun, your channel, isn't it, Mo? Do you
Loaded Cannon.
Loaded Cannon, that's it.
Yeah, you're still in your American saloon, aren't you?
Oh yeah.
So get out of your saloon.
Out of the saloon. Yeah, go on. Would you like to say anything before you go?
Yeah, I'm kind of sick of Arsenal doing brilliantly on the weekend and then their victories being overshadowed by something else. So, the Bournemouth win, Liverpool going batter Man United gets overshadowed. And then we go and beat Fulham in such brilliant fashion. And then Gary Lineker batters the BBC and it gets overshadowed again. So, yeah. Anyway, solidarity with Gary Lineker. Glad to see that he's going to be back on in Match of the Day. And I will be watching.
Big up GL, big up GL. Very quickly, Ronnie Pickering. I'll do it in a Ronnie Pickering. Have you guys noticed how good Zinchenko is in the air? He very rarely loses a header. Very surprising since he's not originally a defender. Anyway, so Tom, anything you'd like to add before we go?
No, not really. Just appreciate joining you boys as always, and the chat box been brilliant. It's good to see so much positivity still around the club. And
there was been some negative nannies in here. I think David Jones been super neg today, and there was some other guy as well.
He's negative.
Oh my god, so negative. It's like we're top of the league, we're flying, and they're still finding things to moan about. You can find Tom at the Gooner Talk TV. You can find him 8 a.m. every morning on his show, giving you the latest news. Someone's asked me to do a 7:59 show. Are you mad? No chance.
Who asked you to do that, eh? Who was that, Shaheen?
Yeah, I think about it. Shaheen has not been sacked. Shaheen is away where he is at the moment on business. He's got terrible Wi-Fi. So stop with the rumours that Shaheen's been sacked or something's happened to him. He's still around.
Found him.
Odegaard. It's his performances. But again, you could, as I was saying, Tom, you can find him on the Gooner Talk TV every morning. And if you want to interact with him, you can on Twitter as well. And boys, that's been it. I mean, it's the Arsenal Lounge. We've got a massive game Thursday. I'm going to be at the ground. If any of you guys in the chats are at the ground, or at the Tollington or anywhere like that, you see me, come say hello. Let's have a chat. And that's it. We've been the Arsenal Lounge and we are out of here. Oh, should I do the little thing? I'll do the little thing because I always forget it.